Hello and welcome to episode 9 of our RPG tutorials. Before we get started, if you will take a second to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't, especially if you've been here a few times and you're finding my content useful, that would be great. Yeah, throw a comment down there. Even just saying hi makes a big difference on the algorithm. Anyway. Okay, so today we are going to do our basic grid setup. We are going to use our square grid from the previous tutorial series. I believe it is episode 21 that deals with the grids. I'll link it below, regardless of what it is. So we're going to declare that grid. We're going to set the sizes. We are going to get the grid pipeline going. We're going to create a packet that will pass the variables between level and your hero / mobs. We haven't got mobs yet, but it'll be the same packet anyway. And then we are going to do clicking the grid to move the hero around. That's really just to test the grid. That's not how we're... Well, eventually we will move that way, but that's not the next step. But it's just a good way to test it for the time being. So without further ado, this should be a relatively quick one. So if we come into our game and we're at level, which is good because that's what we did last, we are going to need to declare a grid. But one thing that I didn't do is I didn't get those added. I don't know why I missed that. At least I didn't have them in the prompt. So data types, yeah, I don't have them here. So we need to add these two, menu 2D and square grid. We don't actually need menu 2D right now, but I want it dealt with so I don't forget them. I don't know why they weren't there. I must have just grabbed the folders. But anyway, now they're there. So we are going to declare a square grid inside level and get moving. So public square grid. And I think it's just grid. And then inside of level, we're going to say grid equals new square grid. And then the grid is going to take in a few dimensions, and we're going to clear those up top so that we have them available for multiplying and stuff in a second here. So vector 2 slot dims equals new vector 2. So these are how many pixels the actual slots are, and you can change these to be what you want. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to use 35. And then vector 2 slots equals new vector 2. Okay, and then here we're going to do 20 by 20 is going to be our grid. In our square grid, we're going to first use slot dims. That's the first of the parameters. Then we're going to deal with our start pose, new vector 2. I'm going to push this off into the middle a little bit, 100, no big deal. And then here, new vector 2. We'll get that in a second. That's dealing with the actual total dims of the grid. And then here's our XML data, but we don't have any. We're not passing anything in right now. Okay, so what are we doing here? Well, we want the total dims to be the number of slots times the number of the pixels in the slot dims. That's what we're trying to do. It will figure out the number of slots from that, so you can feed it whatever you want. It'll figure out how many slots it can put in it. In this case, we want to make sure it's the same as what we're expecting. So slot dims.x times slots.x, and then slot dims.y times slots.y. Okay, so that's getting our grid set up, and then we want to make sure we can show our grid. So grid.show grid is true. I like my spacing like that. Okay, let's get our pipeline set up real quick. So if grid not equal null, grid dot update, and then one thing we don't yet have is level offset. So public vector 2 level offset, and then level offset 0, 0. So we're just going to start that with no offset, and then we'll pass it in here. Level offset. Okay, and then in our square grid, I think we don't have that yet. Taking in the update offset. So let's modify this. Oh, update offset. Right on. Well, that will be what I declare. I added them in here. So just all we did was, it'll be part of what I provide you guys. So update offset, then we set the offset to the offset, and then we don't have to worry about it in draw. So that's already done for you. That's free. Sweet. Congrats on all that. The next thing we need to do is come down here and do that portion on the draw. So again, it's the same thing here except for with draw and no parameter. Okay, so that's the simple grid pipeline. We should be able to see it, so let's run it. Double check. Doesn't like something. Let's see. Doesn't contain a oh, it's draw grid. I don't know why I did that. In fact, it bothers me. Let's fix it. It's just draw. I don't know why I did that one different. I don't usually do that. And then in level, it should just be draw. Okay. Got our game. We hit play. This is our character. We're just going to quickly go through it right now. And there's our grid. And it hovers. And then, ooh, that's a weird one, huh? I like that. What's happening there is it's not resetting our shader. So it's the last thing is black, and then it's not resetting it before we draw the cursor. So it's giving us this shaded approach. So let's quickly solve that. It's a super simple solve. Load a button. I'm pretty sure it has there. Yep, there we go. And we actually want this one because this one has to deal with creating the correct bounds. So right before we draw our cursor, we need to put this in, and then it's cursor dot my model cursor dot and temp color. Oh, sorry, cursor dot again for dems. Cursor dot. And then here we just want color dot white dot to vector 4. Okay, so that should fix that. Let's run that real fast, make sure that that worked. Little things, we just want to fix them as we go. I noticed that before. I wanted to mention it, and then it no longer does that. So that's good. That's what we want. Okay. The next step we have is we want to get our hero pipeline going, and this is the very start of it. It doesn't do much, but we're gonna have to create a packet for it. Let's just do that now. And then we'll do the other. Okay, so in source gameplay, we need a level folder, and in our level folder we're going to add a new item class, and this is level unit packet. Right now we'll just have a little bit of stuff in it, not a big deal. Well, first we got to get all of our stuff taken care of. Got our includes. We have just the one namespace, and then public, and then we have public level unit packet. Done. Okay. So in here, what do we need? Well, we are going to be passing the level's state, which could change how we process our hero. So we need the state. So public int level state 0. We'll declare that inside. public square grid. So we're passing the entire grid in every time. And the reason we do that is the grid and the characters are going to have to, be worked on together. So either you have to pass the characters to the grid or the grid to the characters. I prefer to do my logic inside of the, the hero and the mob, because I feel like logically they're doing the processing, not the grid itself. If you look at it differently, you could do it the other way, but that's just the way I do it. I try to keep things logically where they go, and that's how they make sense best to me, so that's how I'm doing it. Alright, state, and then grid. Done. Okay. Very simple. Really all this is for is so that we can keep adding things to this as we pass more in here. So for instance, we'll have oftentimes the hero put in here or the mobs put in here to pass into the hero or the mobs respectively. So on and so forth. So this packet will grow over time. For now it is what we need it to do. And then if we go to level and we just add one in here, so though we're going to be redeclaring this every frame, we can and should set the memory aside, and so it's always just the same set of memory that we're overwriting over and over again instead of redeclaring it over and over and over and over again. It's harder on your memory. So minor detail, but at this point, try to give a little bit more information on what I'm doing. I mean, this theoretically is the second time we've been through some of this stuff, so I'll get a little bit more in depth this time. I still want to keep it at a not necessarily beginner level, but at a acceptable level. This didn't need to be done there. It needed to be done down in here. My bad. Okay, so we have level unit packet, and then down in update we create a new one each time. We're putting in the state. We don't even have a state yet, so we're just hard coding 0. We'll do a state later. And we're putting the grid in so that we have our level packet. So now in hero, not equal null, and then we'll have something to do there in a minute. Hero.update. Oops. But we're actually not passing in just that. We're also passing in the level. It's going to yell at me, but the level packet, but that is what we're doing. And then if we take this, we move it down here, then we will just have the draw of our hero. Yeah, that should be it. Okay, and then in hero, what we want to do is first we want to tell it to take this in. So let's go through that. Let's say, well, actually, unit. I'm sorry, unit is going to take these things in because that's our base level. Class of public virtual void update, and then update is going to take in a vector2 for offset, and it's going to take in a level unit packet. Here we're going to say base dot update, and then pass in the offset, and that's going to go first actually, not last. So you have options of what you're doing, but because we're setting our offset in here, we're gonna, at least for now, we'll put it up here. I might change that, but that is where we're gonna be. And that's in unit, and we're good here. This is good. Now in hero, we're actually going to do some logic. So over in hero, we're going to say public override void update. Pick the correct one. There we go. It's now passing all the way through with the base to unit, which is wonderful. And our goal when we click is to move our character, but I realized I just forgot something. When we set our hero, we need to make sure that we're setting it to some location in our grid. So the reason we have this set hero function was because we're always going to do more than one thing, like just hero equals hero is never going to be everything. So hero.dems, first of all, we have to fit it to the grid, right? So we want to say new vector2, and then our grid is grid dot slot dems dot x and grid dot slot dems dot y. So now the image of our character now fits inside of a slot dem. Do we have to do it that way? No, of course not. But for this purpose, it's going to be good to fit it to the grid. We can deal with the images overflowing the grid later if we want to. And then where does the hero go? Well, he goes to hero. Well, hero.pose goes to equals grid dot get pose from loc, so from location, and the location is new vector2 0 0, and then whether it's centered or not, and that is going to be a true. In this case, we are going to center the character on the center of the grid location, not on the top left, right? So it starts with top left. If we put this true, then it's going to give you it's going to move it over down half of the height and over half of the width. Okay, so that's that. That should put let's test that. Make sure we're working here. So play, and there it is at grid location 0 0. Perfect. Okay. So the last thing we have to do now is we need to do our logic for hero, which is going to just be, hey, we're clicking on the grid and we're moving the hero to where we clicked on the grid. Pretty simple stuff. To do that, we need to know the location that we're clicking on equals packet dot grid dot get slot from pixel, and then we need to put in where our mouse is, so new vector2, and that is globals dot mouse dot new mouse pose dot x and globals dot mouse dot new mouse pose y. Okay. That should work. Doesn't like. Oh, I forgot to put an offset over here. Okay. And then after we know the location, say pose equals packet dot grid dot get pose from loc, which is the same thing that we did here in level, right? We know what location we want, so now we have to get the position from it, so we give it the loc and true because we want it to be centered, and that should move our character around the screen. We're in whatever position that we click. So here we go, start game. So oh, it's not on click. I forgot to put the on click. So that works great. We forgot the on click, or I forgot the on click. So if, remember, I don't work with events. I think events, anytime you can avoid them, you should. I think you lose control over your game if you do so. It also forces you to spaghetti code a bit, because the on click may do more than one thing, and may need to react with more than one class, and it's just I don't particularly like it. So globals dot mouse dot left click, very simple. Okay, now it should be correct. Here we go. Play. Put our stats in, And now each time we click, it goes where I tell it to click. If I click over here, it will go to the closest one. Anyway, that is our tutorial for today. I know it's a shorter one today. I do actually want these to be shorter. In fact, I don't even want them to make it to 20 minutes, which we have done. But this will get us started. Now we have our grid. We've declared it. We can start moving on it. We can start putting things on it. We can start doing things with our grid that are more interesting than just clicking around. And we can start to generate random grids with random properties. And yeah, good times. Again, guys, if you're enjoying this work, please hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds. Shouldn't hurt you at all, but it really helps the channel out. And then also, subscribe, share it, do those things. Trying to pop these things out with serious regularity right now. I hope that you guys will stick it out with me and we can build something cool. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.